Sick and tired of waiting for their mother to return, one early morning, Obiakor and Olachi set to Nwangele River to demand that the gods return their mother to them. When they reached the river, Obiakor was the first to speak. "Hear me, ye spirits under this river. Your sin of refusing to release my mother to her family, and that of putting her in a cage, are amongst many sins whose consequences you shall bear. I shall find a way into the river world in this life or in another, and when I leave, there shall be no river world." I am Olachi, the daughter of Obinze, and Urenma, the princess of the gods. My brother has spoken well. When he makes his match upon the river world, I shall be by his side. Don't forget I am also half human and half spirit. She also cast some money into the river, and they both turned to leave. Behind their backs, Nwangele River began to tumble and rage. The two children did not run, they made their stand. Obiakor drew his machete and Olachi pulled two small blades from her wrapper. They were too naive. They had not seen a battle before, neither did they know what it meant to fight in one. All they heard was their grandmother's tales about their father. They knew nothing about how spirits fought. However, the two little children stood their ground and waited to fight whatever came out of the river. It was in their blood, it was their nature, and they would fight till death. On their feet they stood and their eyes strained on Nwangele River. The trees around shook as a mighty wind blew upon the river. From the river, a slowing head with a dazzling flock of hares began to emerge. When they saw the creature in the river, Obiakor turned and looked at his sister. Together with a shout, they leapt into the air to descend upon the infernal creature which was coming out of the river. A hand glowing like the rest of its body came out of the river and suspended the two-child mid-air. They trashed all they could to break free, but they were not matched for what had crawled out of Nwangele River. When the whole figure emerged from the river, it was Urenma. She had returned. As she walked out of the river, Urenma lowered them to the ground. The two children did not recognize her immediately, but when she spoke, her voice struck a chord. "What are you two doing here?" Lifting their eyes in shock, they shouted and embraced her. "Ola, we made it!" shouted Obiakor. "Yes, we scared the gods' mamais back," responded Olachi. "Shut up, you two!" Urenma shouted tenderly at her children. She continued, "The gods are angry at your words. They said I should warn you too, or else they will afflict you with otolo, diarrhea. Your words were actually too big for your ages. You shouldn't use them next time. The gods rejected your money, now you can have them back." She gave them back their money. Obiakor and his sister were too excited to bother about what the gods thought. In spite of their mother's warning, they believed it was their threat that made the gods release their mother. "We scared the river world, Mama," Obiakor said excitedly. "We were ready to fight for your release, Mama," Olachi added. From how they sounded, Urenma realized she would never convince them that their words amounted to nothing, so she decided to humor them. "When you spoke, the river gods trembled and crouched on their knees and begged me to return to the world of men before my children would destroy their world." Her words made them go berserk with excitement. Olachi climbed her mother like a tree and hung herself on her back, while Obiakor held onto her right arm firmly. Joyfully, the three walked back to the village. Urenma's return was celebrated like a festival. Obinze was happy that his efforts were not in vain. The gods honored their words and sent Urenma back to Uke. Ngbankwo and Okike were happier than anyone to see their daughter return. Urenma no longer had any need to hide her true nature. Everyone knew who she was, and she was free to use her power. Urenma, like her old self who wanted the best in all things for Obinze, convinced him to take back the chieftaincy position which Uke and the lands around them offered him. Happily, they lived until Ntani, a younger princess of the gods, paid Urenma a visit. "There is a conspiracy by the gods to bring you back, Urenma," said Ntani, "but I have only arrived here." "Yes, but Nsha and the other elder gods do not like your stay amongst men. They hated that a mortal man achieved heroes in their world and took their princess to his world. They seek his destruction and your return to the river world." The gods were smarting over Obinze's success against them, and to undo him, they decided to send emissaries to Akama Oge to exhume the bones of Ojadili, the greatest wrestler in Igbo folklore. He fought against men and spirits and prevailed. No man or spirit could bring him down in a wrestling match. The gods in their secret chamber planned to bring him back amongst men. They would have him challenge Obinze in a wrestling match organized by the gods for Urenma to return to the river world. Their secret design was for Ohadili to kill Obinze. Urenma, this is the scheme of the elder gods, and you cannot stand against them alone. You need us, the princesses of the gods. We will join forces with you and seek the help of other gods. You are not in Oshadili's class. He will destroy Obinze and bring you back to the river world. Why are the elder gods after my joy and happiness? I won't let them do this. I will stop them. Urenma, you will need help. Don't forget that without charms, Ojadili prevailed over men and spirits in wrestling matches. Now imagine what he will do when an elder god possesses him in a wrestling match against Obinze. What? An elder god possessing Ojadili? That can't happen. Urenma, it is already happening. Intani, what is in this for you? Why are you helping me? I and the other princesses want what you have. And what is that? Love. Urenma, you have love. We want to return as the children of the gods to love and be loved. We want to live like you. Oh my world, what have I done? The children of the gods want to return to Uke. Yes, Urenma, we want to return. To the grave of Ojadili, they journeyed. The amulets around their necks and waists jingled and jangled in the silent night as their feet pounded the dusty earth. The tonji, locally made lamplight, fastened on their foreheads, illuminated the thick, dark forest in which they meandered. Akama Oge had gone to bed and rested peacefully at the time the men ventured out to the grave, which held the remains of Ojadili. In their midst was one who was not human. His task was to bring back to the river world whatever remains of Ojadili they find in the grave. At the grave, the native doctor amongst them hastily performed a ritual to appease the spirits that watched over Ojadili's grave and the body in it. To disturb the grave and he who dwelt in it without due permission could have dire consequences, so they had to wait after the ritual had been offered. Beats of drum began to ring out from the thin air. It was the sound of Ikoro music. With the beat, Ojadili graced wrestling grounds in his lifetime. As the beat grew louder, all the men, including the one who was not human amongst them, broke into a jig. Their dance did not last for long before the grave which they had come to visit began to crack open, and smokes so thick and dark that one could hold them begin to belch from it. Something was coming out of the grave. Perhaps the one they had come to visit had decided to meet his guests above his grave. Still dancing, the men watched the grave with keen interest. Just then the grave caved in and a voice spoke to them. Who disturbs Ojadili? When he wakes from his rest, who can stand? Speak quickly before I demand a fight of you. All the men stopped dancing abruptly, and the native doctor amongst them cast a few pieces of ezigo into the grave and answered the voice. Great one, a man has been born amongst mortals who holds no fear for spirits or for men. Like you, he has journeyed to the spirit world, prevailed and taken a princess of the gods for a wife. The gods are threatening war with the mortals in Uke land where this man dwells. The gods in their magnanimity have thought it wise to awaken you to stop this man instead of wasting the land of Uka in their rage. There was silence as the men waited for a reply. Then it came thoughtfully. My time amongst men has passed. If another has been born amongst mortals who is like me, then let times and seasons deal with him as they dealt with me. This man shall come to fade like I did. Great one, if no mortal, dead or alive, is found to fight this man, the gods shall be left with no option than to destroy him and punish Uke thereafter. Uke is a good land. In your lifetime you fought there many times, and won fight for mothers and children who may be slaughtered if the gods choose to attack Uke. Fight to hear the name of Ojadili sung again by ecstatic men, women and children. Fight to relive your past glory. Ojadili, fight to save a land from the ire of the gods. Great one, fight to destroy the man who fancies himself as the incarnation of Ojadili. Who is this man whom you speak of? He is Obinze, the unrivaled wrestler in Uka and all the lands around it. There was yet another pause as the spirit of Ojadili weighed the tempting options which the glib-tongued medicine man had dangled before him. If I chose to fight again, with which body shall I engage this man? The earth and worms therein have eaten my flesh. The gods shall give you a body, and you shall be possessed by one of the gods to engage Obinze in a fierce wrestling match to kill him. All I will need from the gods is a body. I will not need their help to destroy a boy who still bathes his tummy. Great one, do I then take your words for a yes? Medicine man, take my bones. Maybe it is fate that I shall fight once again from the dead. The medicine man and one of his aides jumped into Ojadili's grave and began to dig ferociously to remove his remains. Ojadili's bones were neatly gathered into a basket and given to the one who was not human amongst them, and he left for the river world hastily. Towards the early hours of morning, just before the break of dawn, Obinze and his wife Urenma stirred from their sleep with fits of anxiety. Urenma shook herself and bolted outside their hut. Obinze opened an earthen jar on the floor of his hut and removed the wooden ring which the messenger from the sky gave to him. Walking briskly like a man who was about to go to war, he entered his children's hut and woke Obiakor. Leading him outside, they sat on a tree trunk which served as a bench in his compound. Above their heads the moon glowed in its full strength. Obiakor, the days ahead of us are dangerous, and I cannot tell you what they hold in stock for us. Papa, whatever the days shall bring, we already have enough to withstand it. Obiakor, you often use big words that are older than your age. Have you seen a battle before? Have you wrestled beasts and taken human life at any time, Obiakor? The days ahead are dark and gloomy. They fill my heart with fear. Papa, I may not have seen or tasted the things you listed, but every night I survive perils the sort mere mortals cannot withstand. What do you mean, Obiakor? Every night in my dreams, beasts from the underworld assail me to devour my flesh, but for once I have not feared them. With my bare hands I tear them to pieces. Why have you not mentioned this to me? Papa, if I let you fight my battles now, how shall I grow into a man? No, they could have killed you. You should have told me about these attacks. I have to find out what they want. Obiakor, still boasting, said to his father, They haven't killed me and will never kill me. I have destroyed many of them but one. Even though I tear off his limbs and arms tonight, yet it refused to die. It did this to me. Obiakor turned, and under the light of the bright moon, his father saw a deep gash on his back. This is no ordinary wound. Now I know the beasts you have been fighting. I have fought them once. Removing the wooden ring, Obinze held it in his son's face and said, A messenger from the sky gave this to me. He said that in the day my strength shall fail me, you shall be remembered. I believe the time has come for you to wear it. Obiakor took the ring from his father and slid it on his ring finger and observed it for a while. Right before their eyes, the ring began to glow and slowly disappeared into his finger. At that, Obiakor hit the ground yelling in pain. As Obinze lifted him from the ground, he saw Obiakor's wound heal like no wound was ever there, and Obiakor stopped crying. Turning around, Obinze asked, Where is your mother? I do not know, replied Obiakor. Obinze ran into his hut and lit his tonji. With it, he began to track her footprints on the ground. As he followed her footprints, it led him outside his compound and straight to the path which led to the market square. Behind Obinze, Obiakor tagged along, hoping to join his father in the search of his mother. Turning around, Obinze saw his son trotting toward him. He stopped and waited for him to draw closer. Obiakor, I want you to go back and stay with your sister Olachi. We can't leave her alone in the house. Ola can take care of herself. I want to join you and find Mama, Obiakor protested. No, Obiakor. I want you to go back and be with your sister. I need you to do this now. You don't have to bother about your mother and I. We can take care of ourselves. Obiakor threw his father's machete towards him. Obinze grabbed and jogged away. Obiakor staggered unhappily back into his father's compound.